Welcome to the Get Trauma Informed podcast, dedicated to unraveling the complexities of trauma, its pervasive impact, and the journey towards holistic recovery and realignment. If your radiance has ever felt muted, like I and thousands of others, you're in the right place to reignite your inner light. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast. Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Get Trauma Informed podcast. Today we have a special guest here today. We have Dr. James Chitwood. He is absolutely phenomenal, y'all. So you're going to get a great conversation, and grab your pens and paper because you're going to be able to take a lot of great information back with you. Dr. Chitwood is the founder of Performance Culture Expert. He is also the author of Leadership is Not Enough. Wow, we're going to get some great information out of that. He is also the marketing president for C-Suite for Christ in the Chicagoland. Welcome. How are you today, sir?
I'm well, Dr. Blanding. How about yourself?
I am doing absolutely fantastic today because I am always excited when I have a guest on. Well, most of the guests come on, they pour such great information where people can actually execute on what they give us. And when we talk about the Get Trauma Informed arena, we're talking about get trauma informed so that we can have a better life and so that we can perform better. So I definitely welcome you here today. Our first question is, what does get trauma informed mean to you?
Well, one of the problems with trauma is I don't like the word victim, but the person who has trauma inflicted upon them or has experienced trauma, it is a very isolating, lonely place, right? Everybody thinks they're alone, and few people want to talk about their pain. Some people love to talk about their pain, but lots of people don't, right? Especially
Yes.
men.
Yes.
So trauma informed to me means learning how does your trauma influence you? How has it influenced others, right? Because even someone who's not had trauma, they receive an influence from someone who has, right? Because we act differently, right?
Yes.
We see things differently, right? And so I would say that trauma informed is that flow of information between people to help them, help them understand they're not alone and rise up through all of this.
That's so important because trauma steals your sense of safety, sense of
Mm.
security. So what you just said locks into that. And that's why the polarizing message that I bring with the Get Trauma Informed podcast is so that people can become aware on both spectrums. CDC
Absolutely.
states that it's about 70 to 80% of people have suffered trauma, of our population have suffered trauma, and then 20 to 30% are supporting. So that means that 100% of us have encountered trauma in some form or fashion.
Amen.
Yeah, so your book title, Leadership is Not Enough. That is something that captured me 'cause leadership is not enough. I do some training in the leadership or trauma-informed leadership, as that's so important that we don't re-traumatize people because we just don't know any better, right?
Right.
So can you tell us a little bit about, what does that mean? How did that come about? Leadership is not enough.
Yeah, sure. So someone with a doctorate in organizational leadership, you'd probably find ironic that the person writes a book saying leadership is not enough. Um, there's a $74 billion global industry that would completely disagree with me, and that industry is all about leadership development and training. So here's the problem, right? Don't get me wrong, leadership matters, but it's not enough to move the needle long term. Right. I like to say leadership is the icing on the cake, and you got to bake your management structure first. And that's really the key, is that too many organizations don't even teach people how to be frontline managers. They don't build systems for 85% of the frontline managers receive zero training. They're just promoted and told, now you go manage people. And I'm sorry, people are messy. We're beautifully complex, ugly, messy people,
Yeah.
right? It's who we are, right? We're this. Yeah.
Yes.
So you got to teach people how to work with others. And the problem is the person promoted likely has personality traits and likely has behavior patterns that aren't the same as everybody else, or everybody else would have got the job, right? So now they have no idea how to work with people. And that is just the training aspect. The basic premise to my book is that you have to build in the foundational elements that the people work within, because in the end, they will work within those elements when there's no leader around, right? I liken it to the military in this sense. Everybody says the military is great, built upon great leaders, right? I mean, if you were an officer in the military, you could go write a book and start preaching, and everybody would listen to you, right? Because you were that leader, and everybody thinks you're great, right? But the truth of the
Yes.
matter is, great leaders are an outcome of a system that produced them, right? So the military is a system, a wonderfully strong system, and that system produces great leaders, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And so any organization that is consistently relying upon leadership and not the general management structure of their people will never have consistent results. They'll always have revolving doors. They'll have disengaged employees. They'll have zero psychological safety and terrible social bonds. And if you don't have psychological safety and you don't have strong social bonds in your organization, you've missed the number one and the number two driving productivity factors behind your organization's growth.
Wow. You know
Rambled
what?
on, sorry.
We could no, we could drop the mic right there because I so agree with the systems and the systems and processes. And you just said it. Most miss that.
Yeah,
Most
yeah.
miss that. And it is so, so important. And for a great outcome, sometimes we just have to, even if we've built something, we have to start off at the ground floor, like you said, and build those structures. And then when you funnel the people through, is what I'm hearing you say, now you
Mhm.
have better outcomes because
Exactly.
you've systematically done that. Oh, that is
Yeah.
wonderful. That is
Thank
absolutely
you.
wonderful.
Well,
Lead.
send me your address. I'd love to sign you a book and send it to you, Liz.
Oh, definitely I will. I definitely
I'd be
will.
honored. Cool.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So as we're talking to, so maybe we're talking to someone who is in leadership and they're hearing this for the first time and then the light bulb comes on and they say, "Wow, you know what? This does make sense." What would be the first thing that you would tell them they needed to do?
It really depends on the level that they are in the organization, right? Can they affect change,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
We give the title leader to too many people, right?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, your frontline manager really isn't a leader. They're a manager, right? And I would say your director, now you start to get into leadership because now you're leading managers, right? Managing managers. So it really depends on where they are. You know,
Mhm,
people love to ask me all the time, what's the one thing? And the problem is I have a model that's built upon four elements that I believe make the foundation of an organization rock.
mhm,
Those elements are training, which we just discussed,
mhm,
recognition, accountability, and then communication, right? And those four elements work together. And if you build your entire operation and have that as one strategy, then you can create that environment. If pressed for one, I would say it's focus on an internal communication strategy
mhm,
that has three-way communication, up, down, and side to side, right? And the reason for that is internal communication has been quoted. If you have bad internal communication in your organization, you have a minimum 25% hit on the productivity of your people. So whatever you're paying all of your people,
mhm,
right? 25% of that's getting lost
mhm,
every day. And that's a big number. These are hard, real numbers.
mhm,
That's being thrown away because of bad communication. So if you fix nothing, fix your internal communication strategy. Why? Because that is a foundation to psychological safety, right? Let's go
mhm,
back to the
mhm,
military. There's this wonderful scene in Band of Brothers where the soldiers are all walking through the muck and they're all complaining. And then one of them says, "Hey, Cap, why don't you ever complain?" He goes, "Oh, there's a chain of command. I complain. I complain up, right? I
mhm,
don't complain to you. You complain to me, and I
mhm.
complain up." Right. And that's the beauty of the military. Permission to speak freely is a very real phase when you're a soldier. Now,
Mhm.
the trick is, you can say it. Doesn't mean they're going to agree with you. See, we've gotten kind of lost in organizations right now. That's why we're seeing a shift back to autocratic dictator type leadership
Mhm.
because we tried to do this really, everybody's got a voice. Well,
Mm.
unfortunately, not everybody can have a voice. It doesn't mean you do what they say, but the difference is you give them the ability to say it. We all want to be heard, right? And
Yes.
so psychological safety means people can speak their mind without fear of repercussions. They can say, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
Mm-hmm.
And then you, as the manager, have to patiently go back and explain why it is not stupid. Or even if it is stupid, here's how it matches our organizational objectives and why we have to do it, right? People often think something's stupid because they don't really know all the information.
Mm-hmm.
Again, back to internal communication. Open those lines up, create psychological safety, and you have the number one driving force behind productivity in your corner.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Imagine driving down the road, enjoying a beautiful day when suddenly a tree jumps out in front of your car. Crash! In an instant, your life is flipped upside down, both physically and psychologically. That was my reality. I'm Liz Blanding, a certified holistic wellness and trauma recovery coach. In a time when, according to the National Center for PTSD, the epidemic of trauma is on the rise, 70% of adults in the U.S. have experienced some type of traumatic event at least once in their lives. That's 223.4 million people who could benefit from support on their journey to recovery. To address this, I launched the Get Trauma Informed podcast in March 2024. Our podcast offers free information, resources, expert advice, and stories of those who have overcome trauma and shifted from surviving to thriving. The podcast has the capacity to reach hundreds of thousands of people. I believe that by partnering with the Get Trauma Informed podcast, we can provide critical support to many more people who need it. Trauma was not their fault, but recovery is their responsibility. And with your support, we can help them to achieve it. Thank you for considering the partnership opportunity. I look forward to the possibility of working together to make a significant impact on trauma recovery. Email us at info@oasiswellnessctrs.com or contact us at 616-320-0703. Now we will return to our Get Trauma Informed conversation.
That is so amazing because you just hit on so many things when we talk about trauma-informed leadership, right? So we're talking about two different aspects, but still coming into looking for the same outcome, a successful outcome. So we're talking about training our leaders, but we're and with the systems and processes and procedures in place. Then we're also talking about factoring in a trauma safe space, because when you say psychologically being able to feel like I'm safe, I can speak my mind, because oftentimes we get these explosive results because, and I don't mean a positive, because people suppress what they're feeling, and the manager or the person in charge is not trauma informed. So then when that person is suppressing their feelings, and we know that trauma is progressive, so when trauma sits down and you swallow it and swallow it, all of a sudden somebody blows up. So it's important that we have both of these aspects at play, where we have the proper systems in place, we have a safe environment, but we also have an environment, like you said, where your voice is heard. And so when you feel heard, now you don't have that pressure of you suppressing how you really feel. And I'm just doing this because I need this paycheck. But you have input with people. So you have their input, and, not that you always have to agree with what they're saying, but at least you hear them, you understand, and maybe in some of your putting together the systems, processes, and procedures, you can incorporate that into it. And that's what we mean when we talk about trauma-informed leadership. So it goes hand in hand with what you're talking about here. And so I love your quote of treating people like assets. Can you explain what does that mean for somebody that said, I don't understand. What does that mean?
All right. Now, if you thought I geeked out on you before, I'm really about to geek out on you.
Oh, good.
So we've all heard of The Wealth of Nations, written by Adam Smith a long time ago, right? And everybody, the general colloquial understanding is that Wealth of Nations is all about a free market economy, right? Laissez-faire government, free market economy. The free market was an outcome. It wasn't the input, right? So you got to focus on your inputs. And our input is what Adam Smith wrote is called the voluntary participation of labor, VPL, right? And so when you have a voluntary participation of labor coming together with a person with an idea, then they to grow together. It is a mutually symbiotic, beneficial relationship where the business owner knows that these are the reasons that we are successful, our employees, and we work together, right? Not 20 years ago, my Lord, 50 years ago, you could work for a company for 30 years. You could come in any job, and they had management development tracks, right? To teach you everything you needed to know to climb that ladder, to gain new skills, to grow and develop with the company. Why? Because it's cheaper to keep a person than it is to get a new one. I mean, that's hard math. Everybody knows that, yet you don't see it in practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And organizations understood that developing people. See, the beauty of humans is we're the only machine that can adapt. Every other machine does exactly what you tell it to do. People can grow and develop. My Uncle Roy, a world-class salesman, his favorite phrase was that the greatest asset for any organization is the undeveloped potential of its people.
So good.
Right?
Yes.
And so, you look at the book Good to Great, and they talk about the right people on the bus. If the right people on the bus, don't worry about what seat they're on, because you can and should have systems in place to move people to the seat that's good for them, right? You just got to make sure they're the right people for the bus as a whole, right? Once you've recognized that, you got that right person, you sit them down on that bus, you treat them like an asset, you're driving down the road, you're like, oh, you know what? I know you're in the front, but you'd be really good in the back, and we need someone in the back. Hey, how do you feel about going in the back, right? And again, if you've been treating your employees like assets, and they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, this company is invested in me, and they want me to grow and develop. Here's a really interesting statistic, and I can't recall the exact percentage, but basically, employees are more inclined to work harder for a company if they believe the company has their back, even if they don't have their company's back. Even if they don't have a single bit of that company's products, even if they never buy it, even if it's just a paycheck to them, they will work harder and they will work longer.
Yes.
And they have greater retention if they believe the company cares for them.
Oh my goodness. You know, we have organizations that we're pulling together and growing in different facets of what we're doing. And I'll tell you, when I think the quote is, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So the timing of us meeting and you appearing on this podcast, there are so many connections here,
Awesome.
and I believe too that what you're saying is suited also for big corporations, but also for our entrepreneurial groups that we're growing. We have a space for
Absolutely.
entrepreneurs, and actually our podcast, when we talk about some of the and we still talk about the trauma, but with growing past your trauma, and what you're bringing today is also suited for the entrepreneur, because even the small solopreneur or serial entrepreneur, as we are building these organizations, we need this foundation, because you want to build on a stable foundation, and therefore now the house or whatever you build on, it stands on a stable foundation, than just building it and not understanding that you must treat your people like assets. So you just gave
Amen.
so much, so many nuggets just in that piece right there.
Awesome. That's God's work, Liz.
Yes, it is. I'm telling you, this is an answer to prayers. I didn't,
Amen.
had no clue when we met. That's where we were going. But this is an answer to prayers. So I just want to thank you for that as well. So, is there anything else that you want to share with, as far as even C-suite for Christ? You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. So C-Suite for Christ is a new movement. It's about 8 years old now, and it started in Wisconsin and is growing. I don't have the exact count. I think it's in 21 cities now. And the objective, it's not a networking group. Obviously, you stick a bunch of executives together, they're going to network, but that's not the purpose. We get together for fellowship. We get together to pray, and then there is a world-class speaker that comes. By world-class, I mean, I'm talking about people like, Riley Gaines
Yes.
is one of the speakers, right? And we're talking world-class national speakers come and present, and they give value to these meetings every single month. And so there's not a Chicago chapter. And I decided I wanted to lean into this. I've always wanted to serve and to give to the world in a better way. Because of my trauma, I have known that God was with me from just way too early for any human to have to seek out that comfort, but I did, and he responded. Um, so I've always wanted to have a way to give back, right? And I decided to lean into this when I decided that this is the next battlefront, if I may use such a phrase, right? Like, because when I think I got you by a couple of years, my friend, but growing up in the corporate world, there was a separation of church and state, right? And we were all cool with it. It was okay. Your ideology, your politics has no place within these doors. We do work together. What you do outside, I could care less. You do you out there. In here, you're my teammate, and we're working together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the past 15 years, I have seen the only thing you can't talk about is God. You can talk about any ideology you want.
Mm-hmm.
Go to a kid's school recital. They'll sing every other song except anything that says the word Christmas in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's gotten bad.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
and so I just decided, you know what? God made me a fighter, and I'm going to take this fight on because there's no reason a person can't wear a cross in the workplace without being harassed. There's no reason I can't have a holy Bible on my desk in the office without being harassed,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Right.
we've gotten to the place where there's only one thing you can't talk about. You can talk about anything else you want,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's a violation of our liberties. And I think it's a degradation of society. I think we are building the foundation of our own demise by ripping apart family. And family is the foundation of any society, right? It is the
Yes.
bedrock of any tribe,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yes.
so I'm really worried that our family is being attacked, and I see this as the next place to go.
Oh my goodness. Yes, this is amazing. I love it. I love it. Wow. Wow. I'm really at a loss for words, and everybody knows this.
Sorry, Liz, my bad.
And let me tell you this too. I don't get starstruck, but I think I'm a little starstruck today.
It
When
ain't me, my
somebody,
friend. It's God.
oh my goodness, when somebody just speaks to the core of you, it's like, oh my goodness, you get it. You know what I'm saying? Like you get it. And I love sharing this. I love sharing it. Like I said, well, no, there was something else that I wanted to bring into the conversation. How has trauma empowered and inspired you?
Yeah. So inspire is an interesting word, and that's where I'm challenged. What I can say is, you said it earlier. I'm always aware of my surroundings. No one will ever take advantage of me. No single human could ever take advantage of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Large groups of people, there's nothing you can do about that. But so I am always on edge. I am always aware, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how not to think this way. Like I know you stick people behind me, I know they're there, right? Like I'm always that guy, right? So my trauma, my trauma has caused me to be ever diligent. How it has inspired me is I firmly know that it can always be worse,
Mm-hmm.
right? I didn't die. There's multiple times I should have, right? I didn't, I'm still here. I can still do good. It's why I'm starting the C-Suite for Christ Chicago chapter, why I'm going to be the market president, because I want to give, I want to serve. So my trauma has inspired me to try my hardest to give to this world.
Wow. That's powerful. Yeah, that's powerful. And I say pain to purpose. My trauma and the same, we share that in some of our story there. My pain propelled me into purpose, into this trauma informed movement because I saw people, and myself included, continuously becoming re-traumatized, even, all across the board. And I said, well, somebody needs to give it a voice because there's so much suffering in silence. So many times we come and we put our makeup on, we put our tie up, and we're here, but on the inside we're shattered. I wanted us to be able to understand that that trauma can come up and out, and we can breathe free. I understand what you're saying about hypervigilance. I'm the same way around anything. My back to a door, I'm always forever with my head on the swivel, if you call it, right? I can't sit with my back to the door. So those things, and it does, I guess it does give you a heightened sense of awareness, always being aware of your surroundings. So thank you for sharing that.
For sure.
as we move towards wrapping up, what would you say to someone facing trauma or faced with trauma?
Don't let it define you. Don't use the word survivor. I don't like the word survivor. Stuff happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a rape survivor. I broke my ankle. I'm not a broken ankle survivor. I broke my wrist. I'm not a broken wrist survivor, right?
Mm-hmm.
I should have died in multiple car accidents. I'm not a multiple car accident survivor, right? I am just a human. I am not defined by yesterday. I will be defined by tomorrow. And that is what I drive for. And so what I say to anybody, don't let your past define you. Shit happened. Forgive me for swearing. But that's not you. That doesn't define you. You are a glorious creature of God. Something happened. It was a bad person, bad situation. That's not you. Don't let that evil rub off on you by carrying that difficulty forward. Shake it off. Thank God you're able to, and move forward. Let tomorrow define you, not yesterday.
Wow. What a powerful way for us to bring this to close. How could people get in contact with you through your programs? I mean, we'll put it into the show notes as well, but how would you want someone to connect if they wanted to connect with you?
Sure, yeah. Multiple ways. You can go to, this is the website address. The URL is performanceculture.expert, one word, performanceculture.expert. Type that in, you'll go there. You can also go to drjameschitwood.com. And I'm on LinkedIn, Dr. James Chitwood. And we are in the infancy stage of the C-Suite for Christ Chicago chapter. The announcement will happen likely on Friday or sometime this weekend. And then we'll start rocking there. So, if there's any interest, connect with me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And, I'd be happy to, even if you're in another city and you want to figure out how to make it work for you, I'm a real big believer in paying it forward. Let me know how to help you. And that's a happy place for me.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you very much for all of your input, your nuggets, for your book, just for all of the things that you bring. And we appreciate you. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you, Liz. It's been my pleasure.
All righty. We will see you all in the next episode of the Get Trauma Informed podcast. Go out there and be your best self. Bye for now.
It's time to buckle up. No more suffering in silence. Our Power Pack journey to recovery and realignment starts now. Remember, you are collateral damage on someone else's warpath. Trauma is not your fault. Recovery, however, is your responsibility. I'm your host, wellness coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast.